Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Joke Rogers at Channels Television here in Lagos.
I'm Esther Gido at the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Joke Rogers in Lagos brings you that story.
In order to ensure safety is increased on our waterways, the Nigerian Navy, the Lagos Waterways Authority, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and other agencies have conducted simulation exercises for a search and rescue operation on the Lagos waterways. The exercise demonstrates how working together with sister agencies saves lives and property in the event of any incident along the waterways.
The Nigerian Navy, Lagos State Waterways Safety Authority, LASWA, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, and other sister agencies are conducting a search and rescue exercise in Lagos. The aim of the simulation exercise is to demonstrate how working together can save lives. This is a simulation exercise to demonstrate how lives can be saved when accidents happen on the water. The exercise is taking place on the waterways around Onyiko-Abayomi Drive in Victoria Island of the state. The participating agencies create a real-life scenario with boats and helicopters from the Nigerian Navy. Clinic and ambulance from the Lagos State Waterways Safety Agency, LASWA, are also deployed for the exercise. The special guest of honor and governor of Lagos State is represented by the Commissioner for Transportation, Mr. Oluwaseun Oshiyemi. He says collaboration is a necessity in tackling such life challenges.
Well, it's going to be an intentional and deliberate plan to do that. I'm glad you also realize that it's going to be quite costly to maintain this, but of course on a case by case you don't need to deploy all of what you've seen today all at once, but of course we deploy what we more than enough to salvage the situation. Be that as it may, would also set out plans and roll out plans come 2024 to ensure that yes, we have a backup plan and a financial plan to back this up. So all of this is just about adequate plan, I would say.
For the flight officer, Western Naval Commander Rear Admiral Mustafa Hassan, interagency collaboration is key to enhancing national security, while the representative of other agencies pledge readiness to collaborate with other sister agencies to ensure maritime safety.
There's a plan also for the Nigerian Navy and NIMASA to conduct a search and rescue operation offshore. That is to also boost the confidence of international traders and all, to show that whenever there's a mishap at sea, we will be there at short notice to intervene.
We believe that through those, not just doing these simulations alone, those quarterly engagements we have would then be able to help us be able to, one, plan, of course, plan for execution. So that is what we intend to do. Apart from just doing these simulations, is also to be able to have those engagements and, of course, be able to have that place where we can come together at any point in time and any emergency and be able to support each other.
NIMASA is delighted to cooperate and collaborate with institutional stakeholders with corresponding responsibilities in addressing emergencies within our maritime domain as they may occur. And we believe that more can be achieved together with effective collaboration.
With effective and efficient synergy among Nigeria's security and safety agencies, more lives could be saved, as demonstrated in the day's exercise.
Joining us to discuss the simulation exercises conducted by the Nigerian Navy and other sister agencies is the Managing Director, Lagos Waterways Authority, Oluwadamilola Emmanuel. A pleasure to have you on the program today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Right, so the recently organized search and rescue exercise featured several maritime agencies, including yours. How significant is this exercise to your operation and the safety and security of the maritime domain?
Well, it's very significant because what we saw was synergy and collaboration, both between state and federal agencies, because at the end of the day, we're both working for the citizens of Nigeria. So we have to obviously come together with the existing assets that we have and be able to put those assets to the test, so that in case of those emergencies actually happening, we will be able to deploy those assets real time. So it was all about collaboration, it was all about the synergy, and all about being able to optimize our existing assets in case of any emergencies.
Right, so Lagos State is a coastal state that contends with several maritime illegalities, including smuggling of contraband, illicit drugs, pirate activities, oil bunkering, illegal fishing, and more. To what extent will this exercise help your men tackle these crimes?
Well, most definitely, it's going to begin to give us a lot of information, which is very important. And the good thing about it is that a lot of the agencies now have their own presence on the waterways. So let's take, for example, illicit drugs being moving around. The NDLA has an active marine unit now, which is going around looking at these illicit drugs that are being used by persons and individuals. And of course, the Nigerian Navy is there alongside NIMASA and ourselves, the Lagos State Waterways Authority, and also the National Inland Waterways Authority as well, to be able to ensure that we can curb every kind of illegality, no matter whoever's jurisdiction it is. But the whole point is being able to talk to one another, so that we all have information which we can all share across one another. For example, if I see any security issues, I will bring them up to the Nigerian Navy or the Marine Police so they can swift to action immediately.
Right, and these exercises are being done towards the end of year 2023. So give us an insight into what 2024 will be like. What changes are being made to ensure safety of the waterways in the next year?
Well, we've seen Lagos State basically have the best record in Nigeria in terms of safety. We're really, really glad we put in the work, and we've worked with relevant agencies to be able to reduce the amount of casualties and incidents. And we hope to continue to improve upon that, so we can get to a point where there's almost a zero amount of accidents on our waterways. I mean, this year it was just 1 or 2 major incidents coupled with, in comparison to previous years where we have about 10, 12 on a yearly basis, but we're seeing that gradually reducing because we're deploying all the necessary resources, and we're also sensitizing the people on how to stay as safe as possible on waterways. So 2024 is to further concretize on the safety measures, and also to improve the patronage and the usage of water transportation in Lagos State.
Right. How is that going to be in 2024? I know the state has been trying to, decongest the roads and, get more people to use the waters for transportation from different communities that are actually linked by the waters. So what are we going to see in 2024 to harness, more waterways transportation, especially getting benefits from the collaboration between these sister agencies that are trying to improve the safety along the waterways?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. We're going to see a lot more around the rail service and also the water transportation service as well. So in terms of the water transportation services, we're going to see a lot of upgrading of existing infrastructure to accommodate more people. We're also going to see the influx of more ferries as well, to be able to meet the current demands, and also to be able to encourage newcomers to also use the waterways as well. So the influx of the infrastructure, such as the ferries, the new ferries, and also the optimization of existing infrastructure to upgrade them to certain standards, are the things we're going to see in 2024.
Right, MD, Lagos Waterways Authority, Oluwadamilola Emmanuel, thank you for your time today on Africa 54.
Thank you.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. After the break, protecting the elephants of Kenya. Conservationists ramp up efforts to protect a dwindling population and boost their ability to mitigate climate change. Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Esther Githui-Ewart in Washington. Conservationists in Kenya are ramping up efforts to protect elephants and increase their dwindling population. This follows a recent study showing the important role elephants play in mitigating climate change. Juma Majanga reports from Kenya's Amboseli National Park, home to over 2,500 elephants.
On the vast savanna in Kenya's Amboseli National Park, herds of elephants roam, grazing on green vegetation that is just starting to regrow following a deadly drought in the Horn of Africa. The record drought killed over 400 elephants, according to the Amboseli Ecosystem Trust, prompting the local Maasai community to come up with measures to protect the animals.
This was my first time to see elephants die. Before, it was very unusual to find dead elephants on the paths. So we decided to give more land for conservancies to help the animals and also benefit the community.
Elephants play a key role in the ecosystem, acting as landscapers. Research published early this year in January 2023 by scientists at St. Louis University in the US and their colleagues indicates that the mammoth animal also plays a role in mitigating climate change.
Elephants are very critical because they do help with the carbon sequestration process. They do absorb a lot of the pasture and to help to transform woodlands and grasslands, and in that process help to store carbon. If it were not for elephants, a lot of carbon would still be emitted back into the atmosphere.
Africa was once home to 10 million elephants, but after decades of ivory poaching and severe weather due to climate change, their numbers have dropped to less than 500,000 on the continent today. Through its Room to Roam initiative, the US charity International Fund for Animal Welfare is seeking to conserve African elephants by linking their cluster sites in southern and eastern Africa.
Our focus really is to work with the community, learn from them, and find out what the challenges are for the people that live with wildlife.
The Room to Roam initiative earlier this month brought together traditional community leaders from East and Southern Africa to Kenya for knowledge sharing. Experts say merging indigenous practices with new approaches can boost elephant conservation in Africa in the face of a changing climate.
As a people who are a blessed continent, we still have wild animals in numbers. My plea will be to say, let's continue keeping these wild animals. They are a source of revenue. They are a source of living. I marvel to see them moving around.
Majestic animals that not only inspire awe, but experts say can also help save the planet. Juma Majanga, VOA News, Amboseli National Park, Kenya.
A fencing club in Nairobi, Kenya is creating awareness about the sport. While the sport is not popular in some African countries, the team hopes to change this narrative by getting more support as well as uplighting opportunities for local youths in the community.
It's a busy day in one of Nairobi's eastern estates. A sword-wielding group from the Savora Matani Fencing Club brings the streets of Rama to a standstill. Dressed in white, a group of fencers are competing by taking turns trying to poke or score hits on each other as residents gather to watch. Aged between 15 to 18 years, the group of 2 girls and 6 boys have been learning and practicing fencing since 2021 after they were given space for free. Even though the sport is not popular in Kenya, their aim is to make people aware of it and garner their support. This fencing student, Grace Allen, took up the sport to keep her busy and away from the streets.
This sport is very unique. Many people don't know this sport. Unlike football, many people know it. It has helped me very much because if you look around, there are some my age mate girls that are pregnant. Yeah, so if you join in something, that is keeping you busy. It will help you to not get distracted with some drug abuse and so, yeah.
The team's coach, Isaac Mburu, who's also a coach for the Kenyan national fencing side, started the initiative after learning the sport abroad. His aim is to keep youth off the streets and away from crime that almost ended his life.
I never wanted to see any youth in the life that I lived. You understand? That's why you see that we are going so hard in pulling in more youths, just trying to bring them in and into this safe space, whereby we call it, because they get mentored. We really eradicate on that in paying fees, in giving them the opportunity to fence. So that's how the fencing tourney was born. Mostly is to give them the sense of belonging, the sense of you can come, no matter how expensive the sport is, we are not going to charge you anything, but we are going to give you the space for you to come, train, get the opportunities.
For the young fencers, their ambition is clear, as they aim to become champion fencers.
Most robots require batteries, which degrade over time, causing performance issues and environmental waste. VOA's Natasha Mosgavaya went to the University of Washington to see tiny battery-free robots that are finding their own sources of energy.
This tiny robot can fit on your fingertip, but don't let the millimobile size fool you. It's more independent than most of its bigger competitors. Kyle Johnson is a millimobile co-creator.
There are photodiodes, which are little sensors that can detect light on each of the corners. And so what it can do is actually move towards the gradient of greatest light so that it's actually seeking out its own energy source.
The robot can basically run forever, harvesting ambient energy such as light or radio waves, without using batteries that contribute to electronic waste. This University of Washington team specializes in using environmentally friendly materials to develop small-scale electronics, including fully biodegradable computer mice and origami microflyers packed with data-gathering sensors that can change shape in flight to adjust course. Everything is built by hand, which co-creator Vicente Arroyo says can test the team's patience working with tweezers under a microscope.
Electronics has been a passion from childhood, but to work at the small scale and at this scale is something I couldn't have imagined.
We have all the equipment to make our prototypes here in-house, including things like this laser micromachining system that we use to build circuits and the microscopes and soldering tools that we use to assemble them.
This robot, the size of a penny, can carry nearly 3 times its own weight while gathering data in different environments. Co-creator Zachary Engelhardt describes what's next.
We're looking forward to finding ways to get a lot of these small robots working together to accomplish more complex tasks, like monitoring entire industrial areas or searching for contaminants in the environment.
The team hopes to apply the same battery-free motion technology in medical devices and for outer space exploration. Natasha Mosgovaya, VOA News, Seattle, Washington.
In neighboring Benin Republic, the sport of roller hockey is gradually gaining attention as former French pro player Kouakam Kamchweng is firing up young people's interest in the sport.
In Coutonou's Aya Center, Kakum Kamchweng, a 42-year-old hockey instructor, has ignited a fervor for roller hockey amongst the city's youth. Kamchweng has introduced roller hockey to Benin's sports landscape, a recent addition that has rapidly gained popularity. In just a year, his initiatives have fostered a vibrant club with nearly 100 enthusiastic players, paving the way for an eagerly anticipated and competitive championship on the horizon.
It has been approximately a year since we started the hockey activity, so it's very recent in Benin, after all. But in a record time, today we have a club with around 100 players and other clubs coming up. Other school teams arriving in 2024. So ultimately, we will have a very competitive championship in maybe 6 to 8 months.
For the young kids engaging in the sport, there's an introductory training for those who perhaps do not know how to skate.
When I first came, they took me into Mr. Kukam's office and they asked me if I knew how to skate. I said no, I wouldn't have even come. But suddenly, the day they gave me the skate, I started skating, falling, and then 2 weeks later, I mastered it.
Acknowledging the demanding nature of his pursuits, Kam Chung says his life is a whirlwind of passion and commitment.
My life is incredibly busy and hectic, yet it's also abundantly passionate. I consider myself fortunate to be engaged in a job that I love and to have the opportunity to implement long-held ideas, especially focusing on the development of sports and social activities. It's a passionate but quite tiring job.
Kam Chung's impact transcended Benin's borders. European coaches, captivated by social media glimpses, flocked to witness the burgeoning talent firsthand. Impressed by the displayed skills, several young players earned opportunities for mentorship abroad, potentially opening doors to European leagues.
Generative AI infiltrated many industries in 2023 with substantial impacts for the music and film industry, academia, and political advertising. But the biggest change lay directly in the hands of consumers, with ChatGPT giving non-programmers the power to generate text, images, videos, music, and software needs.
Generative AI infiltrated many industries in 2023, with substantial impacts for the music and film industry, academia, and political advertising. But the biggest change lay directly in the hands of consumers, with ChatGPT giving non-programmers the power to generate text, images, video, music, and software codes. Students were quick to embrace the technology, sounding alarms among some teachers that it is akin to cheating. Teacher Donnie Piercy sees it differently.
The idea of AI in education, definitely understand the concern, but I feel like there's going to be so much more good that comes out once we as teachers figure out how best to use it.
Piercy let students use ChatGPT to create a play and then tweak it to make it their own.
The AI wrote us the entire script, and we didn't even know there was going to be a robot and time traveling involved.
Musician Holly Herndon developed an app called Holly Plus that allows people to sing through her voice in real time. Musician Fur demonstrates here.
And it is so murky.
Similar technology was used by an anonymous TikToker to create the viral hit Heart on My Sleeve, which sounded like megastars Drake and The Weeknd.
I think right now it seems really scary, and I completely understand why people are apprehensive about it, but I think in the future, it could be something that's really playful, and that there are ways where the artist doesn't necessarily feel like they have relinquished all control over their work.
The issue of using other people's work to create generative AI datasets was central to the Hollywood actors and writers' strikes. Duncan Crabtree Ireland helped negotiate the actors' new contract with studios.
What we needed was informed consent and fair compensation. Those were the key principles we were fighting for. And also, limitations on the use of generative AI. All of those things exist in this contract.
Generative AI has also been used to create political deepfakes ahead of the 2024 U.S. presidential election. This video from a group affiliated with a Republican rival to the former President Donald Trump included AI-generated images of Trump hugging former White House chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is unpopular among many Republican voters. Stanford University professor Ge Wang says technology is outpacing human regulators. He spoke to VOA over Zoom.
Before we even had a chance to really figure out what one thing really means, the next quote-unquote groundbreaking thing is upon us. What's at stake is how we communicate, how we work, how we govern.
Federal lawmakers have introduced measures targeting the use of deepfakes and other manipulated content in federal elections. U.S. President Joe Biden signed an executive order in October, which establishes new standards for AI safety and security. Dina Mitchell, VOA News, Austin, Texas.
And that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Esther Githu-Ewart in Washington. Channels Television has our last word.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. To remember that channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Joke Rogers. Thanks for watching and goodbye.